Hey guys, Starshaped here. Welcome back to Exploring 1.30, where I'll be looking at different strategies that have been enhanced or enabled thanks to the new patch. And this is going to be a ladder game that I played myself. I was streaming it as well, so if you check my Twitch, you can see the first-person view. But it's going to be me as the Purple Night Elf against SMRDIS, not sure how to pronounce that, as the Orange Night Elf on Twisted Meadows. Since it's not off mirror on Twisted Meadows, I like going mass hunts, so I send a really fast Wisp Scout to check the mercenary camps. And if I find something, I'll try and deny the Ancient of War by pulling the creeps. But as it turns out, my opponent, SMRDIS, has also decided to go for Huntress build, and he's playing it more nonchalant, so to speak. Doesn't really care about scouting quickly, which is a small advantage for him, since he's getting more gold, more wood, that I'm kind of losing by scouting quickly. And when you don't see Ancient of War on either of these camps, since I'm kind of worried in the new patch that people are going to mass hunt a lot more often, I am scouting the main next to the second mercenary camp. But usually if you suspect your opponent's playing standard, you would immediately scout the two remaining possibilities, which is Ancient of War here by the Knolls, and Ancient of War here by the Knolls. Oh, sorry, this is my base. Ancient of War. Just this one. Sorry, the Ancient of War here by the Knolls. Because if you check this spot, and you check this spot, then you can deduce that your opponent should be here if they're Ancient of War creeping. But my opponent is not Ancient of War creeping, as I said. In fact, we're both going for that Priestess of the Moon. And what we're going to see here is the power of the buffed Moon Glaives. So basically, Moon Glaives have been buffed damage-wise. So their base damage has gone from 36 to 53 to 51 to 68. Which basically means that if a Glaive Thrower in 1.30 does like the least amount of damage, it's pretty much doing the same amount of damage as the old Glaive Thrower would do if it hit the max damage, which is a very significant buff damage-wise, and we're going to see just how powerful this actually is. It was my first time kind of encountering the power of the Glaive Thrower in 1.30, but so far it's just a normal Huntress opening for both players. So Ancient of War, Huntress Hall, and this is also an interesting deviation here. My opponent goes for a second Moonwell before the second Ancient of War, whereas I go for a double Ancient of War before my second Moonwell. And this actually matters quite a bit in this game, because since we're both rushing, we can both decide either to take a fight here and kind of let RNG decide whoever dies or has to run away, or we can run past. And I decide to run past. My opponent decides to run past, which means we're going to hunt for Moonwells, and in this situation, it's a lot better for my opponent, since my second Moonwell is quite a bit later. It's going to be able to get cancelled with ease with the Searing Arrows, whereas his second Moonwell is uncancelable, so I lose a lot of time here, having just to run. I have to run back, pretty much. I'm not going to win efficient trades if we're both standing in each other's bases, so I pretty much feel like I have to run back to secure my Moonwells. And I probably could have built a Moonwell maybe with this Wisp or something a bit more hidden, but for some reason I decided to just try and build them in my base, so this actually delays my Huntress production quite a bit.
Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
Just scouting with my Wisp to make sure that he is indeed going Ancients of War, double Ancient of War. So I'm starting my Huntress production, but as we see over here by my opponent, we do see a Glaive Thrower already. So there's not a single Huntress out for my opponent, going straight for Moon Glaives, which we have seen before in the old patch. Like, this is one way to deal with mass hunts, is to get defensive Moon Glaives. Even double Ancient of War Moon Glaives has great synergy with Priestess Aura, does a lot of damage to Huntresses because of the unarmored type. And I have yet to scout the fact that he's teching. And I'm just making huntresses like I usually do. And I start creeping. The fact that I haven't seen a huntress yet, and like I haven't seen an owl scout or anything like that, kind of tips me off a bit that perhaps my opponent's either teching or going wing glaives. Glaive throwers, sorry, or both. So I decide to just start creeping, which is a bit slow, because in Night of Mirror, if you're massing hunts, a lot of the time you do want to keep your Ancients of War in your main, because if it turns out to be a Huntress War, you're going to have a lot of use for these defensive Ancients of War, maybe even closing off your base entirely, whereas if I put an Ancient of War next to a creep camp like here or here, it can be destroyed and my Huntresses can be caught off out of position. So creeping in this situation is definitely a bit slower and costing hit points instead of regenerating Ancient of War hit points. So I am growing more suspicious at this point, sending in a Scout Wisp, and we see that very first glaive thrown, and I can see that, okay, he's teching. He's going for mass glaive throwers. I immediately start a counter tech, and this is a late tech. I should have scouted this sooner. It's a pretty late tech compared to my opponent. He's more than halfway there. I've just started mine.
Our warriors have engaged,
and this is pretty crucial because there's pretty much like a ticking clock on me right now. Like I have to be able to counter these either by making my own glaive throwers or by going, for example, for fairy dragons or hippogriff riders. And I decide not to go for my own glaive throwers because I already invested in 3 huntresses and he's already invested in 3 glaive throwers. So if I start making glaive throwers now, he's always going to have advantage in numbers. But I am creeping, using my huntresses as best as I can, and he's doing the best he can to just kind of harass me because, you know, he doesn't have any units out, and it'd be suicide to bring out your glaive throwers in such small numbers. So this is pretty much a game of cat and mouse. And so what I decided to do is switch into archers, and my goal is to get 2 Ancients of Wind and start making Hippogriff Riders, which have been buffed in this patch as well because you don't need to get the upgrade, so you can immediately start mounting Hippogriffs as soon as you have them in production. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit, because at this point there's not a lot happening. My opponent is getting Vorpal Blades. He has no attack upgrades as of yet, but I think he will get some. And that's also something to consider. The fact that not only is the damage increased, but obviously when you get upgrades and when you take into account the True Shot Aura, which he will get later, then the damage is even more than it was before in the old patch. And we see some of these tier 1 sentinels that come included with the huntresses now. And this is the very first move out with just 4 glaive throwers. I figure I have 3 huntresses, I have my hero. Got a nice set of claws here. He's level 1. I thought maybe I can do a lot of damage here, but there's 2 more glaive throwers coming in, and look how these huntresses just melt really quickly. So I realize I cannot stay here. I have to back off and go for my Hippogriff Rider army. And look at this, he's going to start creeping with only glaive throwers and a priestess. And I'm going to run in here with my Priestess of the Moon. I'm just going to pause it so we can see that I'm at 324. It's going to be 325 HP before I run into him. And we'll see how low this drops to just glaive throwers. Look at that golem. Look at the splash. Like, this is doing so much damage. And these aren't even direct hits. Like, these creeps are moving and my hero is moving. So I'm doing my best to buy time, but like, look at this. I can steal the item, which is nice, but it's not the most useful item. And he just keeps creeping with those glaive throwers. So I lost a lot of HP just to not even direct hits, just by running into the glaives. And I am getting the Ancients of Wind. I have quite a few archers. I feel pretty comfortable at this point. Because, like I said, I don't need to research the Hippogriff taming anymore, so I can get 2 hippogriffs at a time, I can immediately start mounting these archers. And I did have the increased range upgrade. But my opponent is moving out. He hasn't scouted, but he figures he's at 50 food. He's got 1 attack upgrade. He is getting the second one. He's almost level 3. It's a pretty good time to move out and see what he can do. Because obviously he's aware of the fact that I could be going for air units. And none of these glaive throwers, fortunately, can shoot up. And he brings a lot of wisps as well, which is quite clever. It's a great way to just, you know, mass repair anything that gets focus fired. I have 2 hippogriff riders out here. Uproot my Ancients of War to try and defend. Take less damage, and look at that priestess, just instantly going down to red HP. Not even direct hits. These heavy armor Ancients of War going down really fast as well. I'm slowly killing his glaive throwers, but because of all these wisps, it's not going very quickly. And then he's killing my Ancients of Wind. Huntress die immediately. He gets level 3, which gives him level 2 aura. So I have 4 hippogriff riders. He can do nothing about these, but he's got plus 14 on these glaive throwers, and he's about to get. Let's see what this becomes. Plus 16. So 53 to 104, plus 16 on each of these glaive throwers with Warple Blades. And my buildings are just dying quicker than I can kill his glaive throwers, and at this point he just right clicks my main. And I try to uproot and try to repair, but it's just going down. And like I said, he can't really do anything about my army, but I lost my main. He town portals out, and at this point it is over because he can start making archers, and there's no way that 4 hippogriff riders and a priestess will be able to deal with archers being pumped out with moon moles, and these glaive throwers are still going to do a lot of damage to my hero and any archers on the ground. So I'm gonna GG at any moment here. Try to do something here, kill the archer, but I realize it's futile. And I wrote well played. I thought it was pretty cool. This was the first time I really felt the strength of the new glaive throwers. So I just wanted to share that replay, really. If anyone else who hasn't really experienced it. And people have been complaining, like when I was streaming recently, people were writing about how strong the new glaive throwers are, and they do seem quite strong. Maybe a bit too strong damage-wise. But the big downside is that they still are very weak and slow. So I'd love to see maybe like you can nerf the damage a bit, like find some kind of middle ground where they don't do as much damage as right now, but maybe give them some extra HP or some kind of upgrade to help keep them alive, because that's really the big issue. They're very flimsy units. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll keep making these exploring 1.30 videos as much as I can, depending on if I find the good replays or not. So if you have any replays of cool strategies that you've played on Battle.net or seen, feel free to send me a message on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll check it out. So thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.